What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Reacts to the Power Rangers movie. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Go Power Rangers.
The pure one, Tim Gettys.
Let him fucking host.
And then, the one and only, he's wasting away by the day, Classic Aransky's Mike Aransky.
The good wasting, because he used to be fat.
What's the bad,
So he's
what's
not
the
fat
bad way
anymore.
of wasting
Wasting away? Like
Yeah.
dying?
I mean, he's
that's
getting...
true. That's-
well, clearly, if he's dying, we're not taking him to see Power Rangers.
I don't know.
right.
It sounds like a good thing to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen Kinda Funny Reacts to a movie, it's simple. We're going to talk about this movie spoiler-free in the beginning, then there will be a definitive point where we say, all right, now we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie, and then we'll spoil the shit out of it. Let's start with Tim Gettys. You are the biggest Power Ranger fan I've ever met.
Yeah.
How did this movie do?
I don't know what we did in this beautiful world to deserve a Power Ranger movie as good as the one I just saw.
Really?
Having said that,
Yeah.
is this a great movie? No. Is it a good movie? Sure. I think it scrapes the bare minimum of a good movie.
Sure.
But for a Power Ranger movie,
Sure.
they did it.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize until I saw it that I was really judging it, because I've been talking about, like, if it has a couple moments, that's all I need. It had moments in spades. Like I was all about so many. I had more moments where I had a shit-eating grin across my face than I was cringing about things, which
Okay,
is good.
okay.
Because I thought there'd be way more of the other thing. But I didn't realize that there was already the gold standard. It's I don't even know. It might be like a plastic standard of the 1995 Power Ranger movie.
Sure.
That I hold very near and dear to my heart because it was a perfect example of what Power Rangers are in movie form.
Yeah.
And they did all the, stupid little kind of corny things because it's Power Rangers, and they did it. They really committed to what it was. I didn't think we'd ever get a Power Ranger movie. I'm like, oh, it's way better than that. This was that.
Okay. Mike Aransky, what'd you think? And since we're introducing you
Yes.
to this Power Rangers thing, of course the audience knows you.
Yeah.
What is your relation to the source material of Power Rangers?
So I was kind of I was in the age demographic where Power Rangers came out after. So when I would watch it, my cousins were really into it. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's really weird. It's kind of goofy. I mean, I got it. I totally understood
Sure.
why the kids liked it, but it just wasn't really working for me.
Yeah.
But by the way, I have seen the original Power Rangers movie, though.
It came out on my birthday on 1995.
Okay.
I'll never forget. Power's on.
And I do have contextually known ideas about what like Power Rangers are and like Zordon and all that stuff.
Sure.
I will say the movie is okay. For me, from an outside standpoint, I kind of thought the movie was really interesting first, second act, kind of getting into something that was like more of a Batman Begins, Breakfast Club kind of like combo unit. And then...
I fucking sign me up for that movie.
Yeah. It was, that sounded like it was good, right? And then the third act, it was just, I mean, I don't want to, again, we're in the
We'll get to the
territory,
spoiler things eventually.
but as of right now, I would say that the movie was an okay watch. If you're going, go kind of shut your brain down because it just gets a little silly. Gets a little silly at the end of that movie. So
This is, I mean, my reaction to it, right, is the fact that I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it fine. It's like we all left, and so many people were saying, "Oh man, it's so much better than what I expected." And for me, it was totally the movie I expected, and it was like, that's fine. It was a fun, probably for me overall in my life, forgettable movie. But I enjoyed seeing it, and I enjoyed hanging out, and I enjoyed having the discussion. But it is for me watching it. It was that thing of my relationship to Power Rangers is I want to say. I remember I was too old for Power Rangers, but I still fucking watched Power Rangers and had my parents chasing down toys because again I collected toys and played with toys way too long in my life. But I want to say,
Like how that was, you said that in the past.
well, I don't
You
play
don't
with them
still
now. I mean, like in high school, I was still like, all right, I'm gonna kick up my
Batman
heels and play on my
figurines.
bed and make up a story about Superman and Wonder Woman here. Now, and I had because I use the Alagman universe, of course, Tim. That way I could bring Marvel into. You know what I mean? I had the guy who was able to the homeless guy who then
Classic.
Access. It was his name, of course. In this, it was I watched through I think White Ranger when Tommy became the White Ranger. So I watched a fair share of Power Rangers, and so to jump back into this, first two acts or whatever, and then when it got to like. That now they're really Power Rangering it up. I was like, oh, that was like when it really kicked in of like, all right, these are the Power Rangers. I remember this is going to fight this giant big thing. Where is Megazord going to be? How's this all going to shake out? Yeah.
Make my monsters grow.
Yeah, she said
She fucking said it. She fucking said it.
Exactly. Nick?
Same with me. I mean, I feel like this was a movie. If we weren't, if Tim, if you weren't jazzed about this, we wouldn't. I probably would have let not seen it in theaters and probably caught it when it came to Netflix and been like, you know what, that was enjoyable. Like that was a good. I don't feel like I wasted 2 hours of my time. It was fun. We all had a good time. There was obvious nods to the original series that even I remembered. So I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of nostalgic on a level. Do I think it's the world's best superhero movie? No,
Of course not.
But I'm right there with you where I'm like, this. I went in with very low expectations, and they were for the first at least 2/3 vastly exceeded. Like right when the movie started, I was like, this is a real movie. This is not Twilight. This is not like when I sat to watch Twilight, I was like, oh man, someone like this crew is not necessarily a AAA crew. Like the people that made this movie, they know how to make a movie.
Yeah, like it starts really solid. Like it really is like on a ride in the beginning where I'm like, oh,
that
okay,
cool. They had a
maybe
couple
I was really thrown.
really cool shots. I don't know. I'm gonna look up who shot it. Real
Well,
quick,
you know what? I thought
I mean-
what was crazy is the fact that the characters were so different than the Power Rangers I grew up on.
You mean they had character?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
them
yeah.
all. Like I when they started, I'm like, oh, is Billy gonna be like this token like autistic kid or whatever? And I was like, dude, he's fucking awesome. He's my favorite character
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
But then
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
the same thing that Jason was rad too.
Well, but see, the thing with Billy, I liked that he was autistic. It wasn't he was like, oh, I'm so nerdy. I'm just so nerdy.
Sure, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, he has problems.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's I like that they went that direction with it because it made it all feel a lot more real and less cheesy. Because
Yeah.
like Billy's the brainiac is like that is so corny. You brought up superhero movies. I guess that this would qualify, but I put this more in the category of Transformers, Ninja Turtles than superheroes. Like Marvel and DC, that they have their thing to be judged against.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I think that this is the only franchise in regards to those three that is better than the source material. I think that this is like the best Power Rangers that we've ever got, not just movie form, but live action at all. Like I'm reading the Power Ranger comics now and I'm like, holy shit, like they're trying to give characters and this is good. But I mean, this movie was like, no, they're treating these like real people. And there was like the backstory. They made Zordon a complex character to an extent.
That was cool. That was very cool.
The opening of this
Also,
movie.
the way they handled Zordon was kind of rad. It
was
kind
great.
of the wall thing was really neat. I thought that was really cool.
I was blown away by the beginning of this movie because what you were saying about like I know what to expect. I knew what to expect going into this, and I knew that I was going to like certain moments and be upset about certain things or whatever because I'm an actual fan. But the beginning of the movie, I was like, "Holy crap! They are actually trying with this.
Yeah.
This isn't just the Twilight type thing. They are trying, and it was awesome. And there was so many like things that they said that are like." Holy crap, this is fan service, but in a world building way. And oh man, I don't want to spoil the beginning until we get there, but I really enjoyed it.
I'll say on the one thing that I think this movie does well is that I'm actually like I kind of want to see what happens next. Like I know they've announced that or at least teased out that they're going to do 5 more of these or something like that.
It's another one. It's another one of those deals where it's like they have
see what-
plans for 5 movies,
we'll
but
see what
the
happens.
second one hasn't even been announced, like greenlit yet.
yeah.
And I think that is
They're
a
just
thing
looking
that
for
I'm
box
excited
office,
about this movie is it obviously had a limited budget, and it's obviously you were talking about like I wouldn't necessarily go see it in theaters and watch it on Netflix. Like that's the definition of what this is. I think that it has a chance because of the word of mouth that I expect is going to go around. Where it's like, hey, it's better than you'd expect. Like you should check it out. I think that they're going to get enough to make a cool second one.
Maybe. Yeah. And that's the thing too. I was very surprised. Like the first 2/3 of the movie, I'm like, there's a lot of really like great visual stuff happening here.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a lot with what I don't know what the budget was, but it felt like it was a much more expensive movie than it probably was, which is good. And so we got to a couple shots later, like toward the third act when things started going down. I was like, okay, I can see that the money was stretched a little thin here when we're up on the cliff, fighting the putties. Then some of the other stuff, I don't want to spoil too much before we get into it, but a lot of the big action sequences didn't necessarily blow your skirt up, but that didn't matter because I think a lot of the other stuff was a lot more intimate, and I liked a lot. And it's much more about the character relationships,
And
which
that,
is what it should be.
and that, I mean, you touched on it, right? We're talking about Billy, and you said, like he has problems. I mean, his dad's died. This is happening. How do you deal with that? I loved the characterization of just in his mom's voice, like when Jason's there, that you can tell his mom's like, what the fuck is the star football player? But then the problems Jason has, and the problems Kimberly has, and the fact that not only do they have problems, they are the 2017 I'm a teenager problem, right? Of a parent being gone or this happening or, just being a stupid young kid or
Kimberly's situation.
sexting. You know what I mean? Like it's like, wow, that's an awesome problem to introduce to make these characters flawed in a way that I actually care about them and am attached to them.
Yeah, give them steak, basically.
With the exception of Zach, who was crazy. They
I-
made a point of telling me over and over again that I'm crazy.
Man,
But I take care of
that
my
was a
sick
good
mom.
touch because it's so much better than just I'm the black guy that dance fights.
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
all that he was before. Now it's
Yeah.
like, no, okay, cool. He is just kind of like he's the fun one, and it's like the Michelangelo of the group. But I thought that even then he was handled better because like he did have real shit going on.
Yeah, they all had real shit going on, which is like they all had real problems, like you said, and that was an interesting, awesome place. And I like that. We talk about diversity for diversity's sake all the time, but like to make their stories so diverse and different, whether it be that their race, their family life,
sexual orientation,
sexual
things like that.
orientation,
Yeah.
autism, whatever. Like there's enough in there where like there's enough touchstones, I think, for people who aren't represented usually.
Yeah, that was fascinating to me too. I was like, this is a lot more of a adult Like there's a lot more adult themes in this than I would have thought there was.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
they were
especially
treated
if you're
well
a
enough.
kid going into this
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
But
Plays an
I
interesting
don't think it
audience.
was. I don't think it was bad. I think it was done very tastefully. I think it was done in such a way where it's like, if you are a kid growing up and you think you might be gay, you're seeing that character up there. You're like, okay, I have something to empathize with. Like, it's not like in your face. It's just, hey, you know, I'm a little different than you are, and I'm having trouble dealing with that. And I think there's
Teenagers
nothing wrong
with
with that.
attitude.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I know. I think from an outside standpoint, when you're watching it from my point of view, as like any audience member who's going to go to see this thing who doesn't really have any connection to the Power Rangers, I think it's interesting to see those kind of characters and that kind of world that they're being put into, and it does. I mean, it really effectively works. Like, it's just fascinating to see, and it actually is interesting because Power Rangers was kind of marketed to a very younger. I would feel like even much younger audience than this is actually even playing to. So this movie is definitely designed, I think, more for the grown-up fans than the younger fans.
And in that respect, I do think that they nailed it, and I'm happy that they treated it with care, because they could have not done that. Like, we've seen it with Transformers. Like, Transformers broke my heart, and it's like there's so much things I wanted to like about this, but this was a movie that worked.
I still think one is okay.
But I think this is better than Transformers 1. I think Transformers 1 is okay. But I think that this delivered.
I'm a little biased.
Ladies man 66911.
I got it on eBay.
This
Here's
gave me the
Pete
moments
Johnson.
I needed, but it also gave me a lot of things I didn't expect. And again, the first 2/3 of this movie are vastly superior to the final bit. The final bit is Power Rangers, and it gave me enough, but it didn't really go as far as I wanted to, and that was a budget thing. Sure.
So let's get into spoilers here in 1 second.
Dave.
Before we go, do you recommend people go see it in theaters?
I don't think that it's necessarily important to. I want them to see it in theaters so that the movie gets the budget
one?
for the second one. Yeah.
Oransky?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would say hold on to your money. I mean, I think it's a fun watch, but it's definitely, if I watched it at home after, I wouldn't be lost. It wasn't much of a theater experience movie. It was cool to go with like super fans.
Yeah.
If you got a super fan that's really into Power Rangers, go with them. You know. But
Yeah, because like the audience reactions to certain things were cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's neat. We'll get to those in sure 2 seconds. That's the thing. I thought it was a fine movie. You know what I mean? But it didn't blow my skirt up, as you said. You know what I mean? It was one of those like, all right, cool. Like, I'm glad that people are super into it. You know what I mean? But like, I think you could wait. Yeah. But I would say if you have any inkling to see it, you should see it.
I'm with Tim. I say I see it in theaters, and here's why. Because it gave me a little bit of a vibe of a smaller franchise I like that is very near and dear to my heart, called Fast and Furious. When you saw the original Fast and Furious, you're like, there's something here. It's not quite there yet.
Tuna
Maybe
fish
6
sandwiches.
movies from now, it'll definitely
There you
be
go.
here.
Yeah.
But it's not here
They're playing
yet.
the long game.
Yeah, they really are playing the long game.
long
So I mean, but that's the thing. Like, you never know. You can tell this team that made this movie was talented, and you can tell they made a lot of good decisions along the way. So I would say, yeah, go support that and see what they do with the second one. It'd be cool.
Final question, actually, before we go into spoilers. I'm sorry. What did everybody think of the suits? I know coming out, I know when they first debuted, you weren't a fan, and then watching them in motion, I was like, you know what, these are all right. I don't mind these.
I have a lot of issues with them. And again, this is me being the picky,
Super
they're
fan.
ruining my childhood shit.
Sure.
It's just like, there's one scene of them that I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I'm really,
I didn't mind
really
as much
okay with
them
this.
not when they had the visors up. I always thought they looked dumb in the trailers. I made fun of
minded
it over
that
and
a
I
lot.
was like, oh, that's fine.
Like
I
Iron
thought
Man
that was
kind of thing.
bad.
Yeah.
It was
Show the
unnecessary, and like it looked. I think that's when the budget showed even more, and because all those parts were like, it was like, oh man, like you could see the like
Yeah.
where the CG is around their
Yeah.
face. It's like, why they can wear helmets?
But see,
guys.
that's the whole thing is I think that I'm sure I'll catch hell for this one. I think their face and the way the thing bumped up looked better than most Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man shots. Where it's like, clearly you're in this fucking CG suit and you're adding shadows and it doesn't look, these are supposed to be as flush as they were. I was like, that looks better, I think, than that.
I don't know.
I gotta say, the one thing that always drives me nuts about these costumes is the. Sorry, again, back.
I just
back.
I don't want Kevin to come after you. He will
he's
come
gonna
after you.
me. Yeah, the one thing that drives me nuts is the lips
Yeah.
on the mask. Have always drive me nuts. 'Cause I'm like,
Whenever somebody's talking and
yeah,
they're like,
and I'm
"Oh."
like, you have a. I mean, why can't they just animate those?
make a
Just
motorcycle helmet.
Something. I don't know. Just it's one of those strange. I get it.
That's
and-
how they were.
Well, were they like that? Yeah, you're right about that. But I get that. It's still just weird. So,
All right, we're going into spoilers. So if you don't want any spoilers for the Power Rangers movie, this is where you turn off this video. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Tim, go ahead.
They played the song. They did it. They fucking did it. The fucking Zords were running and they played this song from the 95 movie, the orchestral version of it. And it was fucking awesome. That was the most hype moment of the movie where I was just like, they did it. They treated us with respect. They gave the fans what they wanted.
See, this is the unfortunate part for me because that was the turning point where I felt like, oh, we decided to go 19.
But how are you
It
gonna
wasn't
do
because
it?
of the
Tim,
song
we're
that
going
you're
Tim
saying.
Wayne.
That was because of what was about to happen. Great,
Well,
it's the big final battle.
Sure. But I feel like that was just an unfortunate timing for me because they had There was a lot of things that I think that they could have done, you know, a lot of beats that they missed in this, right? Like, for instance, when we were seeing them all kind of come together, it would have been really cool to not have them. Like, I didn't need to see that slow motion walking shot of them
when they suited up.
Other thing. I really wanted to just see them in action. I wanted to see the next cut. I wanted to see Rita Repulsa like tearing around the town, and then have them fucking like come in and stop something and save someone, you know. And then we see the suit for the first time. You're like, that's fucking awesome. But instead, we get. It's like 5 people walking.
It reminded. It was like that Armageddon. It was the Armageddon walk.
Yeah,
Exactly.
see, I agree with you because I think that's the scene I was talking about where I'm like, all right, I actually like these suits.
Yeah.
I thought that scene was awesome, but I agree it
worked.
was in the
I
wrong
liked the scene,
place.
but it was just
it
weird.
should have happened after they whooped some ass,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they do the walk through
Yeah.
Burning City or whatever. The biggest problem this movie had for me is that it blew its load on reveals every single
It did.
chance
It really
got.
did.
We saw the Zords way too early in a way that didn't.
They weren't
need to
epic. It wasn't
happen.
epic. Hey, here's this hanger of dusty Zords.
Here's this
Yeah,
hanger,
yeah.
and then you see the Mastodon in action in
Yeah.
a really unnecessary scene, and then later, then you see him again. You see Billy morph, and then you see them all morph together. It was
Right.
just like
You
it just
take
felt
away all the big
kind of
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and that was the thing is like I didn't mind the walk, but I thought the morphing scene was kind of lame. Right, of them just doing this over and over again.
Well,
and
it's like
finally happening.
yeah, they hard cut before you actually see Foley in their costumes
Yeah.
to get to the slow mo shot.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
See,
really?
this is where I get to the point where I need to balance out in my head of being a super fan versus being a critic, where I fall on all of it, because it's like, yeah, I'm very upset that they didn't fucking pull out a morpher and say it's morphing time and have do the roll call of pterodactyl, mastodon, Trent, like all that stuff. It's like I wanted that and they didn't do it. They did say it's morphing time, and I did enjoy that quite a bit.
I like felt you enjoy that.
Yeah.
And that was one of those cringeworthy lines. I was like, oh god,
to
and
do it.
I just felt the smile in the seat behind me
Oh,
for
it
Tim.
was so good.
Tim Gettys.
It was so fucking good. But it did feel, it was like, all right, cool. So this is a generic superhero movie now.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
But that was
Yeah.
when that was when I was like, oh, it's Power Rangers, right? I forgot
Right.
some of that. And then when they did the song, I was like, that's really cool. That's a throwback to what I remember. And then it was like, yeah, I mean, like, how are you gonna do that battle and not have? And I don't know. You have these fucking Zords. How are you gonna do this battle and not have it be kind of lame? And don't get me wrong, to what we keep talking about with like the budget, yeah. When they came out and they're fucking fighting the putties in the water and then up on the ledge, it's kind of like, oh, we didn't
Yeah,
need this.
I
or
mean,
that.
Zach punched him in the face. His head flew off, and he said, "Heads up." And I appreciate
okay,
that.
is
a
that
lot.
for the fans? Okay.
Oh yeah, I just loved that.
yeah.
I could have used more of that.
That music beat though, I mean, I thought that actually was fine for the fans, but like my problem with it was it completely took me out of the whole movie at that point. Like, because it was like, because
You mean the
why wasn't like a
original music cue?
remixy version or something that felt a little bit more with the soundtrack we were listening to than just like this retro throwback thing?
Because
And
they
it's
knew
like,
that everybody would pop in the
Yeah.
audience.
But
Yeah.
I agree, because I do agree with you that they should have done
An updated
I didn't even
version.
need to hear the
Version, yeah.
words. I didn't need to
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
Go Go
just-
Power
it was the
Rangers.
theme, right?
It could have
Like,
just
yeah.
been just orchestral version of it, and I would have been so fine with it. I've heard so many orchestral versions.
I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear
I mean, it was
it.
awesome. But the thing is,
I was
think,
hoping Fall Out Boy would come out and nail it, just like they did the
no,
Ghostbusters
fuck
song.
that. They should have had more of it. It felt jarring because it was so quick and over, and like
Yeah, it was quick.
They
It was
should have
way
used
too
it during
quick.
the fight scene
It should have
to
been
commit
epic.
to it.
Walk into it, and then it's all happening.
Or
Yeah, the problem with that is that it immediately made me think I'm watching a TV show, and that was my biggest problem. Is that like that musical cue for me was like
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my parents' bed watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers again, and it just even the shot that you were seeing
the
of
side of
like
them running across
the
the
side
cabin thing.
looked like it was from the show, and I'm like, that's cool. Don't get me wrong, I get it's very nostalgic, but up until this point, we'd seen some really stunning cinematography. Like there was some really cool shots in this that I was in, and then we see the shot. I'm like, all right, well, we took this third act, and now we're going there with it. And we'd already kind of seen a couple of shots that didn't look that great, and then they went all in with the '90s nostalgia. And
they didn't though. That's my problem. They didn't go all in. There was
Well,
so much shit where they just dropped the ball.
They went as far as
when
they
the
should have.
Megazord.
Let's
no,
put it that way.
No, the Megazord. They didn't explain that at all.
Oh
he
my
falls
God.
in the pit, flame, and then he comes out. He's a joined thing. You don't
Right.
even see them like getting together. It's all concealed by fire.
It's called budget cover up. That's what that
Dude,
is.
well,
Yeah.
that was
that's
yeah.
them
So
not going all
Zord knew
in.
what to do.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you know, like as we get into the climax and into the third act of this film, like it doesn't necessarily it didn't fall apart. It just wasn't as fun to watch as obviously the origin story that we wait seen for the first 2/3. And that's always the problem with a lot of these movies, right? Is like you want to talk about a movie that had a bad third act, just like this, Iron Man. The original Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
The third act in
That's
Iron Man.
rough.
You're like,
Are you talking,
George
are you
is
talking
saying
shit about Obadiah Stane? That
is-
fight?
I mean, that
Well,
fight
this reminded
was-
me even more of Thor. This was a carbon copy of the end of Thor, and you brought this up in the car right
the
over.
little small town fight
It
kind of thing.
sucks when the climax of a movie
happens during the day.
and it's just like,
It's a
yeah,
little
exactly.
weird.
It seems cheap. It doesn't seem as
can't hide
epic or cool.
anything.
You can't hide anything. And it's like, and
cheaper
the
when you're
bad
in there.
guy even looked like the bad guy from Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I
Actually looked a lot like
It's
Loki.
funny when I saw that, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was like. I'm like, that's super familiar. Oh, that's what it is now. Now I completely.
See,
I do appreciate them blowing the fuck out of the town.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Angel Grove's
Every guy
never
was
gonna be
getting
the same
blown.
after this.
Yeah. Let's save this town and then destroy it while we're at it.
Well, I had flashbacks to Man of Steel, like when Repulsa's walking down the thing and Kimberly
blowing
comes in and just misses her just right through, and she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "I remember this fight from Man of Steel."
Yeah, I mean, my big beef, like, I mean, there's like a million different things of beast here, but like my big one is that the fact that the movie is built kind of in a base of reality, and then over the time when we get to that third act, we basically train them, and they're getting really into it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. We're seeing these like regular folk become kind of like superheroes. Awesome. And then when they get the outfits, they go to fight. They fight for 2 minutes,
And they're pulling out swords.
Yeah.
They know exactly what to do.
Yeah, they knew exactly what to do.
Ravinsky, it was 10 days. We saw him putting the hash marks on the mountain.
I know that. I saw their
Yeah, it was
training.
10
They were
days.
ready for the fight. The thing, I don't care about the fight stuff, even though it didn't look very good. It was like kind of the choreography was a little rough. But like, they go right into their Zords, which they were never trained to use. And I'm like,
But they said once you had the suit, you would understand.
You
There's
just
a bond.
understand.
The
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
umbilical cord.
Yeah.
minute.
You can just easily control it. You just
That,
exactly.
It's all
that didn't bother me so much.
Matrix.
It's just you're right. Like the thing that I wanted to see more was I wanted to see them fighting Rita hand to hand. I didn't necessarily want it to go to a big Zord fight that quickly. We only got like we got all this build up to them being in these suits, and then we see them fighting in the water, fighting the cliff, and then we're pretty much to the Zords after that.
Yeah, the party
But see,
sucked,
the
by way,
problem
too, yeah.
is, and this is as a very hardcore Power Ranger fan, that's always been the problem with Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Where this movie did something back in the old show, they weren't more powerful when they were in their just as
Human
humans.
beings,
Like
yeah.
they needed to be in their suits to be able to fight well and to be able to be strong. So this movie giving them that like Super Saiyan 1 level of we're powerful already.
can break
Then when they
this
got the suits, it's like, all right, cool. Well, now we're more powerful. And then it's just the war of escalation of how many more times can you level up and have something new? And I think that it might have been a budget thing of CG where they're like, all right, like we could have had most of the movie of them training in the suits and stuff, but instead we just got the quick fight, because what this movie did leave out was the when Goldar is small fight that the old show used to have.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Like when he
Exactly.
grows up kind of thing. Yeah,
So it's like I think that they just skipped that step and had one shitty fight scene.
I'm also not. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The only break in logic I had from all of this was Billy's mom not caring about the van. They totaled
that's
her
true.
van, and like all I needed was a scene of her being like, the van got stolen last night, and he'd be like, yeah, ma, you know what I mean? But instead they all just wake up in their house like, we totaled the van in a train accident.
Yeah.
The van's still there the next day when we go back.
Right.
What the fuck did we tell Billy's mom? She saw us leave, right?
Yeah.
Billy's
Yeah.
mom.
She's just so happy that Jason, the star quarterback's hanging out with her son. Doesn't even fucking matter. The
Fuck
car's
the
gone.
van.
Yeah.
Fuck the van.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know. And here's the thing: I'm being we're all being probably overcritical of a movie called Power Rangers, just because.
Based on the Power Rangers.
Right, but the reason I'm being critical is because I actually enjoyed the first 2/3 of it, and I you know, I think they did a good job with this. I think that a lot of the action set pieces at the end kind of fell flat for me, but it was only because I was actually pretty invested in the characters. I was like, this is cool. They're gonna go kick some fucking ass right now. And then they went, and then like literally 5 minutes later, they're in the Zords. I'm like, okay. I'm in, no problem. Then they don't really do anything in the Zords, except for
hold the line.
the Hodor. They Hodor it.
They order it.
I was like,
Toy Story 3 it.
yeah, they're gonna hold the line, hold the line, hold the line.
Toy Story 3 hits.
And then they get pushed into the vat, and then that's my only actual beef story-wise is that we didn't set up Megazord. Like there was no
it just
line
randomly
at
happens.
all where they were like, "Hey, by the way, if you guys like," all he would have had to say or someone would have had to say was like, "We failed because we weren't tight enough as a team. We couldn't come together, right?" And when you come together, there's something awesome that happens. I don't know what it is because we couldn't do it. And then when they finally come together, they make Megazord, and then that one shot of Zordon where he's like, "Fuck, that's it. That's what we were missing. That's the one thing we
An
couldn't
Alpha
do."
5 being like, oh.
Well, the Alpha 5 stuff, unfortunately, like I love David Hayter, but there was way too much of it.
And it
was
hit,
every
it was
other
so
line.
hit or miss.
Yeah.
They did 2 IIIs. Come on.
And I liked it was weird. In our theater, only the second I got a clap.
The first one is like I'm sure it happened the first time. They're like, "Is that what he said?" And then the time they said it again, they're like, "Ah."
Nailed it.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good one-liners that he had, but I feel like the movie moves so fast that we just kind of ran right past him. Ran right past
exactly.
him.
So going back to what I was saying earlier in the spoiler-free section, the beginning of this movie blew my mind. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I'm like, this is good.
The level of quality here, like we're getting backstory on Zordon. Zordon was the Red Ranger, and confirmed right off the bat, Rita is the Green Ranger.
yeah.
Weird
like,
Earth,
all of
future,
that stuff. They're talking about the Zeo crystals. Zeo is season 4 of Power Rangers.
Oh,
We're
interesting.
fucking jumping ahead on this shit. I'm like, hell yeah, they're setting up a world where they're like, we're gonna speed this shit up. The second one's gonna come. Tommy's gonna come. They're gonna get new fucking suits. I'm so stoked for this. But that beginning of the movie was dark. It reminded me of the
Adi Shankar.
Adi Shankar's thing with Joseph Kahn, where it fucking starts with the Yellow Rangers all fucking dead.
Yeah. That was cool.
You can tell I'm excited 'cause I'm swearing a lot.
I wonder if they saw that and were like, "That's actually pretty cool." Maybe that gave them a little more inspiration when they were writing this.
I mean, I'd love to see a shot for shot next to each other because it looks
it's
very
a really
similar.
nice like nod to like the fan film of saying like, "Hey, this is you guys caught something there. There's something cool that we're going to utilize." I'm not quite sure why they were protecting a planet when there was dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like, what did they do?
It was the past.
Well,
in the future.
crystal.
Yeah, they're protecting.
And then-
but that just makes me why I'm like, what did they do when no one was attacking? Did they just chill with the dinosaurs?
Yeah, they go wherever the fight's gonna be.
Yeah, I was just like, what happens
yeah,
on Sunday
protect-
when they're all like they got a break? What
Or
do
they
they
just go
eat?
back till they go home. Yeah, what are you doing on Sundays?
Hang out with my wife, watch old
I
episodes.
like you
Walking
kept
Dead.
bringing it up, we're talking about it, and I because I love the movie and I can't remember the name of it. The shaky cam footage, time travel movie.
Oh, Project Almanac, the movie that he did before that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Watching this, like
Gene-
I love Project Almanac. I really enjoyed that film. So to watch this and get those vibes, and then find out that it's connected. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. That's really cool.
Like the aesthetics, his aesthetics really kind of represent in this movie. And there's some cool stuff. There's some stuff that's a little kind of strange, and some of his composition stuff, around the fire thing at a certain point was a little strange. But
I really
liked
liked
that, though.
the
I didn't mind the
car
scene.
crash scene was
Yeah,
super
that was
dope.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like the first one.
the little
Yeah.
wraparound thing.
So the wraparound where it's like
multiple
the
car
car's
That was
flipping
cool.
over and the
No, that was
camera's
neat.
going around. I was like, whoa, this
That was
I've never
really
seen
cool.
something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
I liked the water stuff. I liked when they were coming in and you're like, are they seeing a reflection of themselves? And then you realize that it's flipped. And
Oh,
they're
yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's fucking
Well,
cool, man.
That's
I'm
what's
into
cool about this movie is like this is a movie that someone really cared about.
Really
trying
gave
to
a shit about.
really wanted to kind of build a kind of new aesthetic to this kind of movie. You know, that was really interesting because a lot of Power Ranger stuff has always been pretty generic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this is a nice touch to bring a little style to that kind of film.
And
That
the
was cool.
trailers all kind of reminded us of Chronicle. And like watching this movie, I didn't really get that vibe.
Yeah, what's
it
funny
wasn't
is,
as strong as
Project
the
Almanac
trailers
was
were.
kind of like a Chronicle. So
Oh,
that's-
really?
Yeah.
But there's
it's
certain
very
things
similar.
there were certain things about it, but it definitely hit more Breakfast Club than Chronicle.
Yeah.
My only other criticism of it is that I wanted it to be a little I wanted them to slow it down a little bit and maybe add 10 more minutes in there somewhere.
Really?
Because I think there's
I
a
could
lot
have
of
took about 20 hours.
really. I feel like there's
No,
so many
the
good
fire
moments.
scene to me was like
Really?
taking a nap for a
I
little
liked
bit.
that. That was important.
Yeah.
No, I
Hey,
thought there was
narrative
some really
stuff.
cool stuff in there, and I'm like, oh, I wish they could have taken their time a little bit more to have those like relish in those cool moments. Where I feel like probably the same thing that you guys were feeling, where there was director or producer somewhere going, you know what, let's speed this up. Let's make sure that people let's just get this going.
Get to the suits. That's
You're,
really-
you're right. I could have used 10 more minutes of Krispy Kreme.
Oh my
I
God.
feel like there wasn't enough
Not
in the
enough
movie.
Krispy Kreme.
I wonder how pissed off Dunkin' Donuts was, like when they were like, "Fuck,
get
we
that
lost it. We
sponsorship."
lost that product placement deal."
As usual.
Yeah.
Well, not as usual, I guess. I didn't mind the Krispy Kreme stuff. I used to drive me crazy watching Power Rangers or Saved by the Bell when they're drinking cola and they're making all these and like, you know what I mean? Like when they were just eating at Krispy Kreme and they did the whole sequence
That
of
was
fighting
sick.
over the donut, I was like, that's really cool. And then it was just comical too when Rita Repulsa has to be like, Krispy Kreme? You know what I mean? Like, that was funny. Yeah.
And then
name
she's
for a
literally
company
sitting
for
in
that,
the
yeah.
thing
Yeah, she's
eating a
eating the
donut.
donut while the
Yeah.
thing comes crashing.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. Is like this is my problem with that song. At that point, they were like, let's take the camp factor, which was prior to this at maybe like a 2 or 3, and let's just jack that thing up to 11. And then all the way through that third act, I'm like, oh, we are watching a very well produced, very well directed, expensive version of an episode of the show.
No,
that's
then
what we're
that's the
watching.
problem.
Absolutely.
We didn't like that. The third act, like even after that song was the one representation of that. The rest of it, there was so much moments where it was like, this is just a generic action scene.
Yeah.
It's not Power Rangers. That was not Power Rangers. It wasn't. It wasn't. Watch the 95 movie. Watch the end of that scene. Watch how that goes and how the choreography is. And it's horrible. But that's campy. This wasn't campy. This was action. This was very much more similar to Thor or Iron Man than it was to Power Rangers.
And then I think to close out the spoiler thing, the thing I loved the most, Kimberly and Tommy.
Hell yeah.
Fucking Amy
Still
Jo
in love.
Johnson.
That's not
Jason
canon.
David Frank.
But it's okay. In canon time, obviously,
Like
Tommy
Logan
ends up with Cat.
changes the whole thing. So.
It's weird. No one really
Ends
likes
up a
that.
cat?
Yeah.
With Cat, the second Pink Ranger.
with Cat.
There's this thing where they forward in time thousands of years and they're still together.
I don't have to
buy
worry
that
about that
shit.
story. In this alternate universe, they're there and they're green and pink, just hanging out, being awesome, taking photos.
Yeah.
That was rad.
Billy died. That was intense. We all knew he was going to come back, but didn't expect him to die.
I didn't mind that scene. The whole like them bringing him back.
With
kind
Stand
of
By
thing.
Me playing?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
You're, you're pushing it over the edge.
It was just like, you're all super strong. One of you can fireman carry and not walk this fucking body 14 miles into the goddamn mine.
That's really like,
Good point.
He's dead. What are we gonna do? I don't know. We should try to save him.
No
What's
one,
the best way to do it?
no one does mouth to
Bring him
mouth.
out
No
bailing
one
guy.
chest compressions. Boom. He's dead.
He's only been in the water for 5 seconds.
Even if she stopped his heart with that blast, just fucking do a little bit of this. Come on. Like, and none of you has seen a CPR in a movie?
You can punch through a
Nobody even
porcelain
like
sink.
slaps him on the
No.
face. Like, do
They just go
something.
like this.
Yeah, he's just dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
What do we
Damn it.
do?
big
Let's
issue-
walk till sunrise with this fucking corpse.
Yeah, they could have at least tried. Like they should have had a little moment where they're like, "We're trying to save him,
trying
but
to do
clearly
something.
he's dead."
A big issue I had
Oh my
was they
God.
fished out Rita Repulsa.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And it's just like, oh, the Power Rangers are now here. So now she got fished out. That seemed a little
Yeah,
too convenient.
I don't know.
There's a lot of convenience in that movie.
I'm
Don't
not
worry.
sure how that was explained. I think I went to the bathroom once, so maybe they explained it away in the 5 seconds I was gone. But like,
No.
why did she come back when the other things were activated?
Why'd that happen? Also, when did she get her green coin?
She had it with her the whole
She
time.
never,
The whole
she never
time?
let
Yeah,
go.
She
Yeah.
was the Green Ranger, and when that meteor blast hit, it basically knocked her out. And I guess killed her, but not all the way.
But she still had the coin?
She had the coin in
And
her
I guess
hand.
when they grabbed their coins, it activated her coin.
That's
Maybe.
what I was thinking. Maybe was
I
the,
assume so.
is the
I don't
thing
know.
when they chip it away and their coins get activated, hers activated and jostled her from wherever she was in the seabed.
Yeah, but there's only 5 positions in the morphing grid.
Not the
but
6th.
There's
You know where he sticks the knife at the end?
uh-huh.
Like, what was that? That looked like another position.
No, I don't know.
Also, what the hell was the knife?
Can anybody hear you?
The sword? I don't know.
But I do have a question though
Oh, yeah,
for
we
something
never
that I
actually
thought that I
see that
missed.
sword.
Did Jason and Kimberly kiss?
No.
No, so
They were on the bed.
Sean pointed out in the trailer.
bed?
They
Where?
kissed.
They kissed,
They
yeah.
kissed in the trailer, and they did not
Oh.
kiss in this movie. We're sticking to canon, ladies and gentlemen. Tommy and Kimberly for life. For
Word.
Little Planet of Mighty Morphin.
They did the whole like
least.
look at each other thing, but that was it.
Yeah, her hand.
Okay,
is
let's
like
build it
that.
up. Let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that. So when Tommy comes
Oh.
in, it's fucking awesome.
And then the one thing we are
Swoop it
forgetting
in.
that we haven't brought up at the fact is like, don't get me wrong, cool cast, everybody's great. Man, is it hard to get over the fact that Jason is just like a step away from Zac Efron. like you're so close to Zac Efron, but you're not. And I'm not trying to say you should be him, but it's just like, damn, you look a little bit like him.
It was eerie. It was
Yeah.
eerie.
Yeah.
But the actors did a great job.
Great. Yeah.
I thought all the actors did great. I thought Elizabeth Banks wasn't good as Rita Repulsa.
She was camping it up a little hard.
and in a
But
way,
not- but-
that didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I thought Bryan Cranston was great.
He was-
seeing
I
him
was-
in the very beginning, like the moment
Little
I
weird.
realized, I'm like, that's Bryan Cranston. That's Zordon. Zordon's the Red Ranger. Blew my fucking mind.
So here's my question: do you guys think that was an add-on scene, that opening sequence, like the whole like Bryan Cranston thing? Like,
No, that was necessary because that set up the whole why Zordon was trying to use the Rangers.
It's just funny because the whole Bryan Cranston thing feels like the only reason they got Bryan Cranston, they're like, hey, can you just stand in this booth and just talk? And then they basically were like, oh, wait a minute, we may need to have one scene, just making sure they have a connection.
Bryan
No.
Cranston
You think
has
so?
a history with the Power Rangers.
Does he?
Billy Cranston was named after him,
Really?
and he was the voice of like 4 of the different bad guys.
Oh,
These are true stories.
Wow,
ladies
that's
and
very
gentlemen.
True stories of Bryan Cranston.
I didn't like Becky G, the Yellow Ranger.
Yeah, I thought
her acting was like
I
a
thought she was
step
the weakest
below
part of the cast
in terms of
actually.
acting.
Well,
Just
her
in
and
terms of
her and the
acting.
crazy guy. I'm sorry, what's
I'm
his name?
Zach. I'm crazy.
I'm crazy.
Yeah, he
Let me
was.
tell you again how crazy I am.
He wasn't great. Like, yeah,
They're
honestly,
kind of thrown in the sidelines.
The Red Ranger, I don't know their names.
Jason, Scott.
Billy and the Pink Ranger.
Kimberly.
I thought all had really good chemistry together. I thought they were like, I thought they nailed it. The Black Ranger and the Yellow Ranger, I thought were actually probably two of the weaker links. Not bad necessarily, but weren't of the same caliber, or at least weren't given the same
Screen
same
time.
Exactly.
direction
Yeah.
that the others were, because they didn't do it for me right. And she had that really poignant moment where she was supposed to be like, I'm coming out to my friends right now, and I was just like, God, we're a little in Twilight territory right now. Like I'm getting Kristen Stewart vibes where maybe she's not even aware that she's supposed to be saying these lines. You know, like remember you watch Kristen Stewart Twilight, you're like, does she know she's in a movie?
Yeah.
You know, she's like because she speaks really fast. And I was
Lines.
like, I don't really know. And you're like, oh, okay, Kristen Stewart, thanks for being that girl for a while.
There you go.
I enjoyed it overall.
I did too.
It was a fine, fun movie.
That's fine.
Yeah. I hope we get another one soon. I don't want to be waiting no 3 years for this shit.
You want it every 2?
I'd like every one, but I'll do 2.
It was a pretty good turnout at the theater tonight. So I have a good
And again,
chance
we saw the very first showing.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I think that I expect this movie to do way better than they expected.
My favorite part for me internally was when I was getting mad at like the kid who wouldn't shut up in the movie, and then I was like, "Well, there's a Power Rangers film.
Yeah,
Maybe
I did the same thing. I was like, Ma? And I was like, oh right, can't say
Fuck
that.
right now.
We are in a Mighty Morphin
I'm here
Power
for the
Ranger
Power
movie.
Rangers movie at
This is not
opening night.
Logan.
Everyone's in the hoodies with the diamonds on them. I should probably
like, I
not
should
be
shut my
pissed off
mouth.
at some kids being an idiot. What did you think, ladies and gentlemen, of Power Rangers? Let us know in the comments below. Like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel. Go subscribe to Classic Aransky. Check out Mike's work at IGN as well, of course.
Classic Aransky.
And until next time, no,
Thanks.
it's been our pleasure to serve you.